Rangers are about to be blessed with a huge swathe of buffs across nearly all areas. However, if that sounded too good to be true, that's because it is. The Sun and Storm Spirits are both having their potency reduced through not only base values, but also traits, and a certain awe-inspiring wilderness survival trait is being sliced in half. The wilderness survival trait in question is Natural Vigour. For only 5 points, it granted 50% increased endurance regeneration. As engineers have a major Grandmaster trait which produces the same effect, the presence of this trait is perhaps a little unfair, and it's now having its effect reduced to 25%. It remains an excellent trait as it's minor, and as such does not force Rangers to decide whether to discard it for something more favourable. Finishing off the more depressing changes for Rangers, one must examine Spirits. Both the Sun and Storm Spirits are being reduced in power by 1/3. Sun Spirit's effect will now only inflict 2 seconds of burning on foes, and the active component of Storm Spirit will still inflict some fairly potent area of effect damage. Due to burning stacking in duration rather than intensity. Traits undergoing the most adjustment are those belonging to nature magic. Firstly, Strength of Spirit will convert 7% of vitality into power. This will probably end up being used in pure power builds to add an extra little sharpness to the point of Ranger offensive capability. Two-handed training is receiving an intriguing addition. It will grant a 50% chance to apply 3 seconds of Fury with a 10-second cooldown. Given the nature of the greatsword when used by Rangers, two-handed training is morphing from an underwhelming flat damage boost to an enhancement easily capable of maintaining over 30% Fury uptime on its own. If you look at your pet and think, if only it could grow, then the change to enlargement will be pleasing indeed. Its method of functioning has been changed, although its net effect is identical. Instead of a custom spell, enlargement will now directly use a copy of Signet of the Wild, which reduces its cooldown to 60 seconds and allows this trait to interact with other traits such as Signet of the Beastmaster. Nature's Vengeance and Spirits Unbound are being swapped around. Neither are truly worthy of Grandmaster status, and both are more useful than the other in certain situations, in static and mobile fights respectively. Spirits Unbound will certainly be more accessible, and will not require such a large investment simply for having small trees follow you around, freeing up some trait points which may spawn more spirit builds. One singular change is upcoming for Beast Mastery. Mighty Swap will apply to both the Ranger and their pet, bestowing 3 stacks of might for 15 seconds. This effect is almost identical to a superior Sigil of Battle, except it triggers on Pet Swap, which has twice the cooldown of weapon swapping. Wilderness survivalists rejoice, for Barkskin and Oakheart Salve could be the saviours of all. Oakheart Salve is being reduced in recharge by 5 seconds to 15. Near endless regeneration from administering tree ointment while in combat has never been better. Barkskin is even more impressive. By channeling tree-like tendencies while under 25% hit points, Rangers will deflect 50% of all incoming damage. The net result of this is an effective max health increase of 25%. If Rangers have true nerves of steel, it will be extremely profitable to stay below 25% hit points at all time, as healing will be twice as potent, as the Ranger's effective health below this threshold is doubled, while actual health remains the same. Moment of Clarity's component affecting stun and daze duration has been doubled, up to 100% duration increase. This is not as massive as it might appear, as both sources of stuns and daze for Rangers have a duration of 1 second. That said, the extra second can make it extremely easy for a Ranger to unleash an awe-inspiring burst, with the 50% damage bonus granted to the Ranger and their pet. For example, Concussion Shot combined with the Sigil of Intelligence Enhanced Greatsword will doubtlessly produce some fairly serious discomfort for opponents. The final section to the veritable horde of improvements to Ranger traits is that of Marksmanship. Predator's Instinct's health threshold is to be doubled to 50%, and cripple duration increased 5-fold to 10 seconds, which makes it about 5 times better. Its cripple uptime is 2.5 times better, and will be active for a window twice as large. Another adept augmentation to the Marksmanship line is directed at Beastmaster's Bond. Its cooldown will be sliced by 30 seconds down to a minute. However, this trait is already refreshed by swapping pets, so in some sense this reduction is irrelevant, especially as leaving a pet to fully die is not a desirable outcome, and the trait remains contingent on pets being focused to some degree, so it remains fairly underwhelming. Lastly comes Long Range Shot, which is becoming more effective at shorter ranges. At 500 range it will deal 20% more damage, and in the 500 to 1000 range it will inflict 15% more damage. As the name Long Range Shot is rather descriptive of its usage, this alteration is unlikely to change its function, but will naturally remove an extra few hundred damage points from the health bar of foes sprinting at and attempting to behead rangers who don't want to get up close. The forces of nature have been kind to rangers. Spare a thought, or indeed a derisive laugh, for the other professions subject to the same authority.